Welcome to Parsha with Marika. In this week's Parsha, Vayetzei, just to give some context of where we are in the Torah, Jacob has taken the birthright from his brother, and he's on the run, leaving Beersheba, the home of his birthplace, where his parents live, and he's on his way to the house of Lavan, which is in Haran, and on the way, he has to camp for the night, and then when he goes to sleep, he has a dream, which becomes the famous story of Jacob's ladder, where he sees a ladder that reaches from the heavens to the earth, and angels are ascending and descending. When he wakes up, he comes to this incredible revelation that this was a holy place for God, and he makes a monument, and this is going to be a house of God. Now, what I find so interesting about this story in particular is that Yaakov is scared to death. He has no parents. He's never left his home before. It's not like they had, transportation like we do back then, and he traveled a lot. This was his very first time away from home. There's no GPS. There's no cell phones. And I can't imagine the fear of not only will he survive the night and not have an animal attack him or kill him, if he'll have food, if he'll have warmth, if he'll make it to his destination, if his brother Esav is going to ambush him in the night and kill him. But he has this conviction that everything will be okay and deep down. And the dream that he has with the ladder is God basically promising him that he's going to be a big nation, that his children are going to cover the whole earth, and not to be afraid. And it's just so remarkable to me that this is really where faith comes in. We know that our religion starts with Yaakov. As a nation, I should say. Our religion starts with Abraham, but the nation of Israel starts with Yaakov, who becomes Yisrael. And he's the first of the patriarchs who shows some sort of personality, I would say. He shows fear. He shows vulnerability. He shows that things aren't so easy. He goes through so much pain. I'd say he's probably the first relatable character we've encountered in the Torah up until this point. And the nation, in my opinion, comes from him because it doesn't come out of things being perfect. It doesn't always come from being so incredibly strong. It comes from being afraid. That's where faith comes from. That's when it kicks in. That's when it becomes powerful. And I want to share art that I do. I paint plates that to me are symbols of what Judaism represents. And I have one specific plate that I painted back in 2008. And I think it illustrates this idea perfectly. So on this plate, I painted a quote of, "Even though I walk in the valley overshadowed by death, I fear no evil because you are with me." Now that is a very, very powerful line. It comes from the Psalms, the Tehillim, written by King David. That is a Jewish concept that has been adopted by many other faiths, especially Christianity, and is just like everyone knows it. It's in rap songs, it's in artwork, it's everywhere. But it stems from Judaism, from David's despair, because David was also a very vulnerable character who also struggled, who also wasn't afraid to show his fear and his pain in his life, especially when he was running away from his son. Now, the middle part of my plate is an adaptation of what is painted by Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel, and it's supposed to be man and God touching. Oh, quiet, we're giving it to our Torah. Shh. And this is a very, very famous image that's in a church in Rome, and yet everyone knows it. Everyone knows this image, whether you're Christian, whether you're Jewish. It's something that is so incredibly powerful. And to me, it's something that was rooted in Christianity, but made its way to other religions. And both of these things, this quote from the Psalms, this image from the Sistine Chapel, This is religion. When we have moments of fear, loneliness, utter despair, when things just don't make sense and we're hurting, that's when religion kicks in. That's when faith kicks in. But you have to be able to be vulnerable enough to say, I am scared, I am afraid, I don't feel the same. I need to not feel alone. I need to feel comforted. And that's why religion is so powerful, because it's saying there's got to be more than my despair. There's got to be more than all of this. And I want to connect to it. Now, of course, we would hope that religion only brings us peace and solitude, although we do know that religion can go astray and create the worst type of atrocities and war and pain, and that goes for all religions. But the real purpose of religion, in my opinion, is that when we're scared and alone, that's when we have the highest ability to have the highest level of faith. And that all religion is just about not being alone. And therefore the community, the kahila in Hebrew, that comes together and tries to embrace one another is the most important thing. That humanity has to find a way to hug each other. And that's really what should come out of religion, which is why I think the nation of Israel, the nation part, not the family, comes out of Jacob, because you can't have that level of commitment and this desire to not be alone or afraid if you don't have those feelings to begin with. And no one illustrated this stronger than Jacob. And I think it's a lesson to all of us that when we're going through pain and we're going through something that's, difficult, to reach out. Yes, reach out to God, reach out to any higher being or anything that will give you comfort and strength. But don't be afraid to share your pain with your community and those around you, because our job as a community is to be there for one another. And that's the highest level. And that's the beauty of what's supposed to come out of religion. And I can tell you that we only have another day and a half of Shiva left to honor Aaron Mordechai ben Yeshayahu, my beloved grandfather, and Zadie Aaron Feuerstein. And nothing has comforted us more than the community coming together and showing their respect, but not just our Boston Jewish community, not just my friends, it's the non-Jews and the Christians who worked for him, and the Muslims and the people who were from different ethnicities and backgrounds, and the news outlets and the publications and just from every walk of life has come to show their support. I've never felt this sense of belonging and wholesomeness and comfort and community more than I have this past week. And my grandfather would be so proud, because this is what religion is supposed to be. And this is what he stood for. Shabbat Shalom.